Good afternoon, and thank you, Avasant and Adapom, for inviting me to share some of my thoughts about innovation and what we've been able to accomplish at Carnival Cruise Line. I'm very fortunate. I've had a great career. I've spent about half of my career on each side of the desk. I've been both a vendor, a technology vendor, as well as a purchaser. I was a partner in Ernst & Young for about 14 years. I also led worldwide applications for Hewlett-Packard, and before that I ran business process outsourcing globally for EDS. I've been at Carnival for about 8 years. One of the things that we understand so clearly at Carnival is the importance of embracing culture. And about everything we do is about creating competitive advantage through our culture. And I'm going to talk about that in a few points here in a moment. We're very proud of the fact that we are America's cruise line. We've been in business for about 50 years. We have about 45,000 people worldwide. The vast majority of those are shipboard. We sail all over the world, but we really have a real concentration in and around the Americas. A couple of the previous speakers mentioned the importance of sustainability, and it's hugely important to us. We have committed to be carbon neutral by 2040, which is a serious goal for us. We are all measured on it and measured on progress. We recycle on board our ships all paper, glass, recyclable plastics. We've eliminated the use of single-use plastic on board our ships. And we endeavor every day to live the value of sustainability and how important it is to the oceans upon which that we make our living. We've had over 100 million guests. We had a tough time during the pandemic as we were shut down for 2 years. And as opposed to many companies, we did not receive any subsidies from the government. But we've come back, and we are, I'm very happy to tell you, sold out. So our culture of innovation started with our retired CEO, Arnold Donald. And Arnold, when he came into office, made a challenge to the entire company. And it was, what can you do to generate $10 a day of incremental revenue for each guest on board our ships? When our ship pulls away from the pier, everything we have on board is a sunk cost. And everything we can do to generate revenue falls pretty quickly to the bottom line. And then Arnold introduced the idea of collaboration, coordination, and communication, so that we are working as a community to try to believe, to try to show what we can do as a team. So we started doing a few things. First, to reward experimentation, and to be able to embrace the idea that trying things, having skunk works, pulling people together is a great thing to do. And dedicating, especially within our IT team, we have about 1,500 people involved in IT in one way or another, from badged employees through to contractors. But we want all of them to spend some portion of their working week thinking about experimenting around innovating and improving our business processes. We learned to celebrate wins. Previous panel just talked about giving out pins for recognizing people's longevity of service. We do that as well. But importantly, we have every month an IT Spotlight Award that goes to the team who have innovated a business process in one way or another. And remember, innovation for us means not only improving a business process, but especially in this audience, we're talking about innovation that is enabled by technology. And so that requires at some level to have the involvement of IT, and it requires that our team of IT professionals is kept up to date and is current with what's going on with IT technology, whether it is AI, as everyone talks about today, or whether it is satellite, or whether it is the latest in no-code, low-code approaches to applications. We also celebrate failures. Einstein said that all science is based on previous failures. Thomas Edison said, if you want to succeed like I do, double the amount of failures that you have. Try, try, try. So we celebrate those failures. We celebrate you taking a chance using our resources to try to learn something, do something. We also focus on small or minor improvements. Not everything is a moonshot. And where we have had the greatest success is where we have a series of smaller innovations that have linked together to create true process innovation. And I'll give you an example in a moment. Because we have to be careful stewards of our resources, our answer cannot be just buy all new technology, abandon everything that we have today, and bring in something new. So innovation for us has to be based on existing technology, which can be augmented or supplemented with new technology and new insights. But bear in mind, our total fleet, we have almost 100 ships with all of my sister brands sailing around the world, each of which has 2 data centers on it. And we have a lot of embedded technology that has to operate on a day-to-day basis. So we look for ways that we can augment that without throwing out the baby for the bathwater, so to speak. Moonshots are rare in our environment. We try to focus on those things that we think are going to make a difference in some very key stakeholders. Our lens is basically these 4 stakeholder groups. Our guests, or for many of you, your customers. Our team members, or those people that work with us. The regulatory agencies that we have to report to and work with every day. And of course, our own board of governors. In each of these areas, we try to look at where are the bottlenecks, where are the process friction points that we can improve, eliminate, or just make better with the application of technology and some knowledge. We also look in each of these areas for the business processes where there is confusion. So that tells us that we need better information dissemination, and we work on that very carefully as well. I'm going to give you an example of a major business process for us that we have innovated, I think, very successfully and continue to focus on its innovation, and that's the embarcation process. The process where after you've purchased your passage, you've purchased your ticket, you're now going to go on the whole procedures of getting on board the ship and getting into your cabin. So, you've already bought your ticket. The first thing that you do is you arrive at the port. And a lot of our ships go out of the port of Miami. And so your reward for buying your ticket with us and coming on vacation with us is we used to let you stand in the hot sun in Miami for about 45 minutes while you're waiting to check in. After waiting a long time, you would then have to pull out some basic documentation, government-issued identifications such as passports and driver's licenses. But you'd also have to get your credit card registered and approved for charging so you can charge to your room. After going through that, you would receive a card key, which has to be activated, that you would use to get to your room, and then you would get in a big long line of people that were all trying to board the ship. And then you would eventually arrive at your cabin exhausted. And then right after that, what we would do is tell you that you need to go to your muster station. So we made you wait in the sun. We then get you on board the ship and you're a little frazzled. You're waiting for your vacation to start. And the next thing we do, we get you in a big room and tell you what will happen if the ship sinks. So this is not a way to warm up the crowd. We needed to change this. And so with the help, and this is an important point, with the help of many, many vendors who brought ideas to us, experimented with thoughts and ideas, we started to change this whole process. And the key to it was not to thinking about our guests, but rather to think like our guests. And that was huge for us. So that means we go on board the ship ourselves and behave like a guest, check in. We ask guests, we survey them, we meet them, we do focus groups with them. We try to measure things that are going on. We do benchmarks. What are other cruise lines doing? What are other guest-oriented companies like MGM doing with their guests, or Disney, and try to learn from that. So we applied a number of those lessons. And the first thing we realized is that you don't have to do everything on-prem. You can do a bunch of stuff from home. So we enabled our website to allow you to register your personal documentation, your ID, and your credit card at home, and take care of all of that well before you arrive at the port. When you finally get to the port, the next step is that we basically take your picture to enable facial recognition, which I'll come back to in a second, and we log you in so that you're able to go to your cabin. And then we learned that once we had done all of that, we can put the keys to your cabin in your room, and you can just leave and walk straight into your suite. And oh, by the way, and I don't have it on this video, I'm going to show you in a minute. When you get into your suite, what we figured out is instead of scaring the pants off you about our ship sinking, what we decided to do is we ran a safety video on the TV in your room. You cannot switch the channels until you watch the whole video. And once you've watched it, we ask you to take your room key, it's an RFID card, and tap into one of a variety of terminals around the ship to show that you understand the muster process. This, by the way, is of course a U.S. Coast Guard and every Coast Guard in the world regulation, but we did so in a way that keeps it fun. All right, so I'm going to show you a quick video and then I have a couple more comments here.
Carnival has been laser-focused on elevating the guest experience by streamlining the check-in, boarding, and debarkation process with the help of new technology. While most guests print or download their boarding pass on their mobile devices, we can quickly print one for them curbside if needed. Guests who have not completed their online check-in are directed to Carnival's new self-service kiosk to enter the required travel information. Once they are done, an agent prints their boarding pass and gets them on their way. Once inside the terminal, guests are directed to check in with an Embark agent. Embark is a simple mobile application that allows Carnival to process guests in 30% less time than previous methods and leverages Wi-Fi, cellular, and an offline mode to check in guests at various locations, including hotels and airports. The last step guests go through at embarkation before boarding the ship involves a new facial recognition and e-gangway solution. This state-of-the-art system conducts a quick facial biometric positive match against guests' uploaded picture and within seconds marks them as on board the vessel. Clearing CBP and debarking the ship is fast and easy. Several facial recognition cameras are placed by each gangway for clearance. Guests with passports are directed to their appropriate line and asked to stand in front of the camera, which quickly performs a facial biometric positive match, automatically and electronically obtaining clearance from CBP's database. Within seconds, the system returns the approval as good to go, and guests are marked off the vessel and can proceed ashore.
So right at the end of that video, you saw them debarking and using facial recognition. That has turned out to be hugely important for us because we now take those stations, they're portable, and when we are in outports, Jamaica, for example, we put those stations up as you're coming back on the ship, and you're recognized immediately, and there's no lineup to get back on the ship. Because the other thing that was a huge dissatisfier is you get off our ship to go on a shore excursion, and you come back, and there's a lineup of 1,000 people to get on board the ship. That no longer happens. You walk straight on. Customs and Border Patrol were so impressed with this approach and this technology, they asked, and we gave it to them. So those of you that work with the federal government know that the federal government doesn't generally pay license fees for things, but we just gave it to them. Now what happens when you get off one of our ships, including here in California at Long Beach, you get off, your face is recognized, you pick up your bags, you go. And it's a tremendous experience. It's better than flying internationally. So one of the key underscore message here is focus on small things to deliver big results. Focus on collaboration and getting the whole team together. Choose fun and choose it together. Thank you very much.